right now on their feet, celebrate with the modern day Maharaja.
WWE stands for World Wrestling Entertainment, and the world element of WWE's name is presented by WWE having a rich history of portraying all types of wrestling characters from different backgrounds and different geographical locations.
First of all, do you understand English?
Sí.
See.
Naturally, some of the individuals behind these characters have not been from the exact location that WWE has built them from.
You have a big mouth, John Cena, and there's nothing.
As many are just playing characters.
It was an interesting accent. It kind of evolved over the years. There was a little Borat, a little Nacho Libre, a little Italian, like one of my uncle and stuff.
This means that sometimes they have to put on an accent or even slightly alter their existing voice to align with their promos and character work. Despite this, over the years, WWE have often allowed superstars to drop the accent if their character changes or even if it needs to be dropped for the storyline purpose of their current character.
I was thinking, it deserves a little bit of the good, you know what I'm saying, right here.
Oh, baby, you have been winning, I've noticed.
Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 WWE superstars who suddenly lost their accent. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos.
Why I do declare, I will rip your arm right out your sucker. Why don't you get in there?
Number 1. YOKOZUNA.
Hogan, you will go down!
YOKOZUNA was a prominent fixture in the WWE's main event scene between 1992 and 1996. He won the WWE Championship and even main evented WrestleMania on more than one occasion. YOKOZUNA's gimmick was a sumo wrestler from Japan. This is despite the man himself actually being from Samoa. This meant that whenever YOKOZUNA spoke, he had to deliver his promos in a weird fake Japanese accent that was more comedic than menacing and impactful.
American products, they are no good. Sponsor!
He had a legendary manager in the form of Mr. Fuji that was able to cut the majority of his promos for him.
YOKOZUNA, you come with me, Japan, and I'll make you champion.
Naturally, WWE realized that they should solely use Mr. Fuji to talk for YOKOZUNA, as YOKOZUNA's promos were killing the gimmick. So in turn, YOKOZUNA soon became a silent, menacing figure, which elevated the gimmick and character even further. Number 2. Razor Ramon.
Say hello to Razor Ramon.
The Razor Ramon character was incredibly popular during WWE's New Generation era. The idea behind the gimmick was that Ramon would be an exaggerated version of the Tony Montana character from the movie Scarface and would speak with a Cuban accent.
Hey, yo, Hitman. Get some sleep, Chico. I see you tomorrow, man. Now beat it, Rougeau.
Ramon actually had an American accent, but was able to pull off the Cuban accent and the gimmick extremely well. But in 1996, Ramon alongside his best friend Diesel jumped ship to WCW and would use their real names rather than their established gimmicks and characters. Ramon would go under his real name Scott Hall, and gradually the Cuban accent was completely dropped. When Hall decided to rejoin the WWE in 2002, the Cuban accent didn't return and Hall would talk in his normal, natural speaking voice.
We just want the opportunity to work with some of the great WWF superstars.
As he wrestled under the Scott Hall name rather than the Razor Ramon persona.
I want to say thank you. Muchas gracias, man.
Number 3. Bubba Ray Dudley.
You damn right, lady!
When Bubba Ray Dudley joined the WWE alongside his brother Devon in 1999, they would go on to be one of the most famous tag teams of all time and would be responsible for introducing the table as one of the most popular weapons in WWE history.
I want to hear these words. Devon, get the table!
Famously, Bubba Ray did the majority of the talking for the tag team, and what was interesting about this was that when the Dudley Boys first arrived in the WWE, Bubba would talk in a heavy southern accent with a stutter.
Nobody steals from the Dudley Boys.
stutter element quickly went away as it did little to build their characters, and the thick southern accent that Bubba Ray would cut his promos with would naturally drift away. By the time Bubba Ray would return to WWE television in 2015 alongside Devon, the accent was completely gone.
Every single one of you always respected us because we busted our ass for you 20 years.
Number 4. Carmella.
Carmella! What are you doing here?
What am I doing here? I got fire things for you guys.
Carmella, during her time in NXT, had an idea to do a character that was originally from Boston, but she realized that would be too similar to Sasha Banks' character, so opted to do a character that came from Staten Island. For inspiration, Carmella binge-watched several shows to perfect the character and, in turn, the accent. These shows included the likes of Mob Wives and Real Housewives of New Jersey. Thankfully, she had enough common sense to not watch Jersey Shore. Once the character and accent were perfected, she would debut as the Staten Island Princess.
She's the former hairdresser that lost her job thanks to Enzo and Cass.
And would join forces with Enzo and Cass in NXT before getting a main roster call-up in 2016.
I am the princess of Staten Island.
In 2017, she received her biggest push to date when she won the Women's Money in the Bank match. However, fans noted that Carmella began to completely drop the Staten Island accent and talk in a normal speaking voice.
No, congratulations.
Okay, it's right back where it belongs after you took it away from me last week, but now I have it back.
It was unclear what the reasoning was for this, but it was likely that it was to align with Carmella joining the cast of Total Divas in 2017. Number 5. Luke Harper.
Don't stray.
Luke Harper had a wild WWE run. The stop-start pushes, despite consistent fan support, seemed to be the constant trend for him. But it wasn't until recently that we learned more about the issues that Harper faced during his WWE run.
I wanted just to do my own thing, and I thought I had it, and...
That's black tank top Luke Harper,
yeah, exactly.
right?
Harper speaks in a natural New York accent, which was seen during his time in NXT and during his few promo opportunities during his time as a member of the Wyatt family. Despite this, in 2014, Vince McMahon insisted 1 week on Raw that he delivered his short promo in a southern accent. Unfortunately, Harper wasn't able to do a southern accent, so it just sounded like his normal speaking voice.
I'm a team player.
But during the episode of Raw, Harper actually won the Intercontinental title. However, as Harper failed to deliver his promo in a southern accent, he was yelled at backstage by Vince McMahon. The next time Harper would cut a promo, the New York accent would be back.
We don't act like you, and we certainly don't think like you.
And Harper would never attempt the accent on WWE television ever again. Number 6. Drew McIntyre.
There is nobody on the SmackDown roster that can match my unlimited potential and aggression.
Drew McIntyre made his WWE debut in 2009 and received an instant strong push. One of the problems early on was a failure to connect with the audience, and this was especially seen during McIntyre's promo time on television, as he would often be met with what chants by the live audience.
You read this letter out loud.
God, I hate those chants. This resulted in WWE and McIntyre changing up his accent.
My time is now.
It may not seem noticeable when watching McIntyre on WWE television today, but if you compare his promos now and his promos 10 years ago, they are vastly different in how he delivers them using his Scottish accent. McIntyre went on to discuss toning his accent down in a recent interview, where he mentioned, "We have the most difficult accent in the world to understand, and I had to adjust it slightly because I was sick of hearing 'what' for the first 4 years I was here. I need the world to understand me when I'm champion, raise the title and say, I bloody did it for Scotland." Did you see I put a little bit of a Scottish accent on that last bit? Never mind. Number 7. Salvatore Sincere.
Salvatore loves you all.
Out of all the names on this list, the name Salvatore Sincere is a name you may not have heard of, and you are forgiven for this as his WWE run was extremely forgettable. Sincere would debut in 1996 as a heel, and his gimmick would be that of a stereotypical Italian character. He would wear a white and pink attire and would have a character trait where he pretended to love everyone. The problem was that the man behind the gimmick, Thomas Brandi, was clearly uncomfortable with the gimmick. If you need any evidence of this, look towards the fake Italian accent he used, as it was terrible and was borderline comedic.
I like it to tell all the beautiful people in this building.
Sincere was actually presented rather strongly for the first 12 months of his career. He would have a featured match with the likes of The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, this despite the character being negatively received by the fanbase. The gimmick was ultimately dropped after 12 months, and Sincere began using his real name and portrayed a generic babyface character, and the Italian accent and other mannerisms were completely dropped. Unfortunately, this character change did little to no favors for Brandi, as in 1998 he would leave the WWE and would never return. Number 8. Triple H.
It's hard for me to even believe. 25 years.
Triple H has achieved without question one of the most successful careers in the history of the WWE. However, it wasn't always easy for the future WWE executive. In WCW, Triple H would go under the name Jean-Paul Levesque, who would be a French aristocrat who would speak with a French accent.
I have had the best education, all the money. I have had every woman I have ever wanted.
Following a stint in WCW, Triple H would join WWE in 1995 and would debut as Hunter Hearst Helmsley, a traditional blue blood character which saw Triple H use an exaggerated version of his traditional voice, so it came across as classier.
Are you listening? I don't think so.
Despite Triple H having success with the gimmick, which included an Intercontinental Championship reign, the accent and gimmick would eventually be dropped in '97 when Triple H and Shawn Michaels would form the legendary stable of D-Generation X. Number 9. Kofi Kingston.
My name is Kofi Kingston. Each and every day, we run up and down this beach.
Former WWE Champion Kofi Kingston made his WWE debut as part of the ECW brand in 2008. He was billed as being from Jamaica and was billed as being the first Jamaican superstar to ever wrestle for the WWE. WWE centered his entire gimmick around the fact that the character was from Jamaica.
Sometimes there is trouble in paradise.
He would have attire in the colors of the Jamaican flag and would even name him after the capital of Jamaica itself. As part of the gimmick, Kingston began to do a strong Jamaican accent to deliver his promos. To his credit, he managed to pull it off, especially from a guy that had never even visited Jamaica.
Whoa, snap. Seldon Benjamin. What go on, brother?
However, in 2009, during the build to the Bragging Rights pay-per-view, the accent was casually dropped in a promo segment.
We've got to come together and get on the same page, because if we don't, it's going to be bad news for all of us.
Which resulted in Triple H stating,
"Aren't you supposed to be Jamaican? What happened to your accent?"
Kingston dropped the accent from that point onwards and would go on to have a tremendous WWE run that included a WWE title reign and 11 reigns as tag team champion.
And more importantly, we exposed this man as a phony Jamaican.
Whoa, man. I told you the only reason that I did that was because I was paying tribute to the Jamaican.
And number 10, Lana.
He is the super athlete, Alexander Rusev.
Lana debuted in 2013 on NXT as Alexander Rusev's social ambassador, which was a fancy word for saying she was his manager. Lana would manage WWE's latest foreign heel, and she would use a Russian accent, this despite her being from Florida. The Rusev and Lana partnership worked extremely well, and Lana even featured in Rusev's WrestleMania 31 bout against John Cena for the United States title. But after numerous hit-and-miss storylines surrounding Lana and Rusev, WWE would opt for Lana to casually drop the accent when delivering promos on television.
Rusev, I understand that you need to figure out what's best for a Rusev Day.
It was rumored that this was because Lana was on Total Divas at the time, meaning the fans were already aware of what she actually sounded like. Lana even admitted that she found it difficult to cut promos in a normal accent, as she'd become so used to speaking in the Russian accent, and she was able to talk very quickly with the accent, where she was forced to be nuanced with the speed and delivery when using her traditional speaking voice.
None of you went through what I went through last week.
Man.
Not any of you. You could never understand.
But there you have it guys, 10 WWE superstars who suddenly lost their accent. Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.